In the Weebosphere, we sometimes like to call ourselves degenerates. It's a self-effacing reference to all of the more questionable aspects of the weeb fandom. The weird porn, the body pillows, the idea of the waifu, that of the neat. It's the shit that scares our parents, the uninitiated, the socially conservative, and the blessedly shrinking demographic that is the fuck anime type. And it's all mostly harmless. My personal distaste for waifuism, for instance, is less moral and more philosophical. For all their faults, anime, the greater weebosphere, and their rising preeminence in the last decade have, I think, been a net positive. I see less of a stigma among my peers, not just towards anime, but towards being who you are and liking what you like. When I was in high school, you could either be a crypto weeb or you could be a pariah. Now, I have fights with my coworkers about Jujutsu Kaisen and whether it's good or not. We all know who we are, and we're all quite a bit more cool with who we are. Sure, we'll call ourselves degenerate, but it's an inside joke, a shrugging of our shoulders at all the ostracization that we used to face and are now mostly free of. Guilty as charged, Trevor. Enjoy the next episode of Friday Night Lights. I'll be watching a show about magical girls getting eaten by fucked up Don Hertzfeld cartoons. But then I hear about shit like Rito of Healer, the fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene of weebdom, our own Morgan Wallen. A show where the fantasy protagonist goes around sexually assaulting women into joining him on his revenge quest to sexually assault his enemies. A flimsy, in-universe justification exists so that this series can pretend to be anything other than free candy for rape fetishists and actual rapists and sex pests. But I'm not stupid, and I resent that my intelligence is being insulted. Before we begin in earnest, before I lay out a case, I want to be crystal fucking clear. Redo of Healer sucks. If you like Redo of Healer, then, from the bottom of my heart, go fuck yourself. Clutch these pearls, you fucking degenerate piece of shit. The weeb fandom would be better off with you dead. On to the show.
Wow, so I burned my finger this morning. That was the omen. That was my advanced punishment for picking this one out of the fucking magic hat.
This is your fault and I blame you, by the way. I didn't even fucking hear about this show. I could have gone my entire life not hearing about this show.
It's weird to know that just sort of picking a TV show because I saw Flame War about it will just count as one of the sort of top 3 moral transgressions of my 2020s, you know? It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild.
At least you didn't rape anyone.
I don't know. Maybe I transitionally put money in the pocket of one of the show's fucking writers, in which case I am an accomplice to some kind of inevitable fucking sex crime.
Oh, yeah, content warning, by the way.
I really resent one thing that this has done to me personally. You see, I come from the Edge Farm.
Mm-hmm.
I do the fucking 2 a.m. sets in the New York Comedy Club where some fucking Jim Jeffries impersonator comes out and says, "Now don't it suck you can't say what you want to say these days?" And now I have to come in here and say, yeah, I've got a content warning for your ass because this entire thing is fucking... It's like a 14-year-old Harvey Weinstein's journal. I don't know. It's hard to place it specifically in terms of metaphor, except it feels like a con where dignity is sent away.
It feels like, what would you call it? Like a fucking Sword Art Online dark fic.
You know, I actually told myself, for all the comparisons I'm going to draw of this bullshit, I'm going to actually avoid porn, because I was thinking about the insult pornographic, right? Porn, by and large, like, the normal porn for normal people, or the freaky porn for... Or the freaky porn for freaky people with some self-awareness.
Yeah.
By and large, kind of harmless fun. Maybe you get like a comedy sketch pegged to the front of it.
Sure.
People don't talk like people in porn, which is really amusing to me. And that is not really a genre of charm or independent spirit you're going to find in this fucker.
No.
I can't really call it porn as much as I could call it fictional snuff.
It's torture porn. I mean, for starters.
it is torture porn, but it's not even like there's not even a early Saw kitsch kind of thing to it.
No, there's absolutely no fucking kitsch. It has the same exact aesthetic that every fucking isekai has had up to now. Oh, well, this is fucking wild too, because this manages to be an isekai without this dude having been killed and reborn or transported into this world.
Yeah, it basically, in some kind of xenomorph-like evolution, has taken everything that pulls you out of isekai and sucks about like all the game mechanicization and all the stock tropes you're asked to accept as borderline ironic, etc.
Those are just there anyway.
Those are just there anyway. But it doesn't even import the appeal, like the theoretical marketing tagline, the horrible exploitative thing, whatever. But still, the theoretical appeal of this isekai fucking nonsense is just like some kind of escape from ex blase reality.
Oh, so no, this is absolutely doing that, except it's doing it for rape fetishists and rapists and sex pests, right? Because those are not just an unfortunate minority. No. They're a demographic now. They're a market. There are enough of these people in the weeb fandom, both here and in Japan, that they felt like they could make a whole bunch of money by adapting this novel. There are enough of these people, both here and back in Japan, that they felt that they could make a whole bunch of money making this anime. Which leads to the very uncomfortable conclusion that we share our fandom with a whole fucking lot of these people. It's not like we didn't know that, but it's becoming pretty impossible to ignore now, which is why, by the way, I compared this show to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That is fair. A certain species of mutant will say that it's just sort of going for the shock entry, get your attention, then they're going to show you the real depths that are beneath this show. Which is why I want to take just a nanosecond to say that beyond all the shit we're complaining about, the show sucks.
Oh, it's also just bad. Yeah.
It is also a normal bad show with the thickest layer of stupid people trying to write smart people I have seen in a while, in which a guy with unlimited prep time and time travel powers and absorption of information creates a plan in which he must be tortured and sexually assaulted for months because this is his stroke of genius.
Well, I understand why it's there. It's there so that it might have some chance of fooling you into thinking, yeah, the people he's about to rape totally deserve to get raped. That's the first thing, right? That's its first goal. The second goal is to provide a flimsy justification for this show's defenders to point to when they are called out on the fact that they are either sex pests or sex pests in training.
Good angle. If I were to rewind to that sort of shock value point for a second, the idea that you might be pulling a early Slim Shady here.
Oh, the normie filter.
The normie filter concept.
As it's been, because it has a fucking name, because it's happened often fucking enough.
Thanks, Goblin Slayer. Anyway.
Yeah, thanks, Gabi.
When you go for the controversy, Mike, you are putting an ante up. You are short selling yourself in that you are telling the world, haha, got your attention. Now look what I can do. And these guys, and this author, I'm going to go ahead and insult the original author. I'm going to do the opposite X arm say this guy doesn't have shit. But this guy is looking at the world and he doesn't have anything. They don't have shit to show you after they, like, grab your head and turn you towards their fucking dead pig. It's just a dead pig.
It's just a dead fucking pig.
And it's been rotting there for like 3 months while you animate, air quotes, mouth flaps, this
and
fucking
you
show.
fucking this dead pig does not count as performance art.
It really fucking doesn't. I'm tempted to go into the fact that the main character, beyond being an irredeemable monster who's supposed to be sweet,
Mm-hmm.
is
Oh, you're
just sort
supposed
of
to think that this is so fucking sick.
Like, this is supposed to be the Batman of sexual assault, I guess. And it feels almost trivial for me to get into the fact that it's not just normal bad writing, as not only the shock thing, there's all this needless artifice around things in this dumbass plot. Like, there's this whole time travel construction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he's going back to replay his life the right way and get his comeuppance. But when you actually just look at the sequence of the dumb shit that happens to him that he goes to claim revenge for, and how his powers go or whatever, the time travel really serves no fucking purpose in this plot. Like, you could have made an F instead of an F show if he had developed as a rapist and
or just fucking pieced,
or just life quit.
You're looking to inside the story for answers, and you're not going to find any of them there. You need to be looking outside where I am.
I don't want to look outside. It's just a guy grabbing his hand while he draws.
Yeah, you're looking for the Watsonian conclusions. I'm just looking at the Doylean ones right here, because there are only Doylean ones, because this show is not well enough written for the Watsonian answers.
So here's a piece of trivia about Sam and I, because, as you can tell, we associate it outside of this podcast. Otherwise, it'd be kind of hard to find the fucking time, really. The world is burning. So we have watched a lot of stuff together. And because of my various diseases, a lot of it has sucked on purpose. And yes. I have never been the person that tapped.
This was a first, yeah.
This sort of pushed that record onto me. I have tapped once. Congratulations, fucknuts.
When did I tap? I know that I've tapped at least once. I tapped at Interspecies Reviewers.
That did happen. You had a sort of, not offended, but sort of an audio-visual tap on more handshakers.
I was just kind of done. I was like, this isn't going to get any better. We're not going to get more than we already have here. We have the material we need.
I can kind of understand. I think you can only look at that gear turning animation a certain number of times before you just run out of...
It's like, yep, those are gears still. Did I tap at Azure Lane? Because I feel like I tapped for Azure Lane.
At Azure Lane, you introduced the skipping around rather saying, no, we need to get the texture of the poo. This fucking show...
We didn't even get 2 episodes in.
We didn't get 2 episodes in. It's 1.5, 1.6, I don't know. It's when the poker came out and I just sort of threw my hands up. And there's a stock sitcom joke where a jerk-ass kind of character tries to say, I'm sorry, and it comes like, I'm so. Mm-hmm. And evidently, when you live my life as whatever kind of borderline bender personality, the equivalent of that is, So that was an experience. That was a
fucking experience. I don't want to dignify this show by continuing to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. Eat my ass redo of Healer. Is this the worst show we've watched?
Yeah, okay, so here's the actual topic of this episode, is we're going to argue over what the worst thing we've ever watched is. I still think it's Interspecies Reviewers.
Interspecies Reviewers is a strong contender.
This is a new fucking challenger. This is like fucking, like Lars Sullivan just got called up and is just going to be a monster for, however many weeks. He just got released.
He did just get released. Man, I bet Lars Sullivan would love this show if he wasn't too busy crying to watch anime. Now, Interspecies Reviewer is an interesting contender. Definitely low effort. Definitely harshly transgressive.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should just lay out all our contenders. So just as a reminder for people, Interspecies Reviewers is sort of the apex of the Coom show in that it is an animated comedy about...
It makes no pretensions to be anything but.
Yeah. Is the ultimate Coom show. It's an animated comedy about whore hopping, basically.
Yeah.
In a fantasy section.
In a fantasy world setting. Yeah, just the generic one that has all of the various, different fantasy races from whatever fucking, RPG you've ever played.
Yeah. I guess we should say the Japanese generic one, since generic fantasy has a different read.
Yeah.
In the West, you think a little more elf-orc focused, where those are just sort of speed bumps on the way to shit like genie and fire elementals and interspecies reviewers.
This is true, yes.
Two contenders we cannot forget. You love your... No, I can't remember the full fucking name. MILF Isekai.
MILF Isekai, yeah.
MILF Isekai is a core contender, and as you said, Azure Lane is a core contender.
Azure Lane is easily the most cynical out of all of them.
Azure Lane is definitely one of the most constructed, committee constructed.
Yeah, like there's not a single fucking heartbeat that can be felt within Azure Lane. You could almost... How do I put this exactly? Interspecies Reviewers definitely does have a pulse because there are veins on one's dick.
Interspecies Reviewers' cynicism is more like a pop punk band where you can look back and you see these do something else and one day woke up and said, let's make some fucking money. Azure Lane's cynicism is like when Arnold Schwarzenegger appears shirtless in a parking lot and stands up and marches towards a biker whose day is about to get worse.
I would compare Azure Lane and Azure Lane's creation to... Alright, so I just did my taxes.
Okay.
I use one of the fucking programs that you use, and it costs you, like $80 to $90, and you click through it, and you upload some PDFs, and you select yes, you select no, you enter some numbers, you enter some allowances here and there, that sort of thing. You click through things, and basically that's how Azure Lane was written. With all the passion that went into my doing my taxes this year, and passion is just not the word that I would use to describe any of that. It is a means to an end, and that end was a net gain of about $120 or so after you factor in what I owed on federal and what it cost me to do them.
That one does feel a bit like putting Legos together, doesn't it?
No, because putting Legos together does involve creativity.
That's true.
It involves imagination. There's some passion that can go into it. Doing your taxes is just this thing that you have to fucking do every year, and sometimes you get something out of it.
Every time something like Azure Lane comes out, I kind of wonder if that just is the founding force behind some like artisanal masterpiece that only 3 people love.
And it's just a fucking generation-defining classic for them.
It's weird to think about budgets sometimes. Other entries.
Handshakers,
quintessentially. Did I bring up MILF Isekai?
You brought up MILF Isekai, yeah.
Because that is a strong one. That thing had like a Matanza on Lucha Underground reign.
What I was the most surprised by is just how boring MILF Isekai was. Like, outside all of the fucking, memes that show up on, whichever subreddit, right? Yeah. Or all the scenes that become memes on whichever fucking subreddit. Everything in between that, like 90% of the show is just fucking boring dialogue.
Its badness defies even the structure of the hate watch.
Yes. It's not a good hate watch. Not the way that fucking X-Arms was. I was calling it X-Arms throughout the entire previous episode. That's not what it's actually called. It's X-Arm. I don't want to call it the worst thing that we've ever watched for this show.
I can't put X-Arm in my final running. Because it's ultimately like the song Friday, which is some idiot trying to do something they're not capable of doing yet.
It's fucking Little Brother from Homestar Runner. I can make it on my own. It is Simple Jack. You mentioned fucking Tropic Thunder earlier.
Dude, I want to take like a bunch of key animators from X-Arm and give them like a scholarship to a fucking top animation college.
What kind of accelerationist bullshit are you on?
No, I want to see them come out with like training and ideas, and I want to see what happens if they just try again. And it will probably still just be more like the Hindenburg now. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not too invested in the forward momentum of civilization itself for the next 3 days or so, because we just marched through our new intercontinental fucking champion here. Seraph
I'm still
of the End is like an honorable mention.
Honorable mention. It's honestly nowhere even close to the worst thing that we've watched. It's like dumb and stupid and bad.
There's nothing Seraph of the End gets wrong that Handshakers doesn't vomit on.
Yeah.
I think we need to start pitting this bracket against each other.
Princess Connect Redive.
I literally forgot it. It's like I got neuralized, like Will Smith is staring at me, and I said, "How'd you get in my home, Mr. Smith?"
So I wasn't joking, by the way. To anyone who, remembers that episode, I wasn't joking. I did actually dissociate while I was watching that show. It was that bad. It was that boring. It was that fucking nothing of a show.
I didn't pain dissociate. It was more like, if you're into stoner rock or sludge metal, and you can just imagine one of those really dreamy tracks while you're staring at the ceiling, and the album art is some kind of constellation drawn like a fucking high detailed tarot card or some shit, and you're flitting through the void. Then someone does a high-pitched kia during a battle scene and you're ripped back down to earth. But that is the astral kind of trip if I went back down to this. Alright.
We talked about Big Order on the show, didn't we?
We did talk about Big Order. There's too much joy. There's too much.
See, that's why I'd argue that Seraph of the End does not deserve to be in the running for this, because Seraph of the End was so fucking funny.
Big Order.
It was just so impossibly incompetent.
Big Order crammed so much of an overstuffed plot into so little space that it was like fucking Xavier Renegade Angel all over again.
It felt that way sometimes, yeah.
Like, my order is your order, in which that is the bunny that is pregnant now inside of your mind.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I think we should pick champions.
Okay.
One champion each, and we'll put them against each other, and then they will face the contender.
Here's what I've narrowed it down to. I've narrowed it down to interspecies reviewers, Azure Lane, and we forgot to mention it, Aramanga Sensei.
Ah, the old gods.
But Aramanga Sensei... No, you know what? Bullshit. No. Aramanga Sensei is not actually that bad. I mean, it's bad, right? No, it's bad.
Yeah, but we're like...
It's really fucking bad.
We're at like the end of a Hellraiser movie. We've already seen shit. What do I have to fear from Aramanga Sensei?
Aramanga Sensei is like the first season villain.
Yeah.
And we're in season 6 at this point, and shit's just been getting, they've been up in the ante, right? It's the fucking dude who did Prometheus. Prometheus, he was on Lost. He was the one,
not sure.
He was the one who was talking about how, when you've got Hollywood movies, you have to do sequels where the stakes are larger and larger each time, right? So, Interspecies Reviewers was the first movie where the stakes were, we need to save the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not, did I say Interspecies Reviewers? I meant, Aramanga Sensei. We're now at, like, movie fucking 5 right now, where, we're trying to reverse the Thanos snap. That is how large the stakes are now.
Aramanga Sensei was, like, the first movie where Chris Tucker has to just try to actually fist fight someone at the end. And that's his big drama moment. Over here, in, like, redo of Healerland, is when he's dangling off the fucking Eiffel Tower while ninjas throw shit at him, and you just don't know how you got here.
Somehow I've seen all 3 of those movies multiple times. I don't know how. I don't know how it happened.
Jackie Chan...
I think it's just because I like kung fu shit, yeah.
Jackie Chan's career is blessed by being both an excellent kung fu guy and a winner of the comfort I'm gonna put something on because it's on category.
His shit is extremely easy to watch, yes.
Yeah.
Like, all of it. Like,
Yeah.
from Drunken Master all the way on down to Rush Hour to, you know...
Like an idiosyncratic Trader Joe's potato chip.
They have good potato chips.
But yeah, Aromanga Sensei has lost some of its power, so... My god.
It's just so much more, like, pedestrian level bad. This happened fast, too. This happened fast. Aromanga Sensei was, I want to say, 2016. It's only been 5 years since Aromanga Sensei. And this fucking nuclear arms race of horrible, noxious shit for Coomers and rapists has propagated.
This is more of an American structural trope in terms of the relationship between movies and television.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how they'll take a movie and adapt it into a TV series where every beat is drawn out forever?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like anime is accelerating to the point, in a certain corner, in like your shock of the season corner, we're eventually just going to be Irreversible, the prestige television show.
I'm just wondering if they're just going to start airing fucking hentai on TV Tokyo at this point, because that seems to be what we're accelerating towards.
Man, I'm going to pick my champion.
Okay.
I'm going to make my case. I think that MILF Isekai is the worst show that we've watched.
I think that Azur Lane is the worst show that we've watched.
You see, MILF Isekai, it's kind of like Mario.
Sure.
MILF Isekai is cynical.
Yes.
MILF Isekai is cheap. MILF Isekai is built on a firm, transgressive layer of incest. Every moment of MILF Isekai feels like a vast field of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that could matter that is on screen in MILF Isekai is tied either to fucking your mom or some RPG mechanic that seems to be thinly understood. Like, I'm still not convinced that everyone writing these fucking isekai, or even half the writing these fucking isekai, play fucking video games.
I think they are very good at looking up video games on Wikipedia and finding that video game's individual Wikia page.
Because I watch these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see a MILF isekai. And there's never a fucking Undertale isekai or Death Stranding fucking isekai or Madden isekai. It is always your brother describing Dragon Warrior 8.
Yes.
I guess what I'm saying is that it's so inbred.
Yeah, basically it all just kind of runs together at this point.
It all kind of runs together. It is a takeoff on a takeoff on a takeoff. Like, we've gone
and
so...
who cares at this point?
It is probably worth bringing up. I don't know when the well of mom fuck, sister fuck money runs dry, but they got damn Standard Oil close to tapping one of those veins.
Clearly it's not running dry anytime soon, because this show is currently fucking airing along with the second and maybe third seasons of a whole bunch of other fucking isekai that I didn't like the first time and don't like now.
I almost wonder if it like almost crashed the fucking mom incest market. Like, it would have just been stepsisters and stepbrothers left alone in the incest market from that point on.
In complete fairness, I'm pretty sure she is his stepmother in MILF Isekai.
I fucking hate that.
Just so that, like, they could... If you're gonna fucking do it, then fucking do it. Don't be a fucking pussy about it.
Don't be...
That's another sin of MILF Isekai. It's a fucking pussy about it.
I think I just disassociated during it the way that you describe Princess Redive Reconnect.
That's not its name, but who cares?
I don't give a shit. No, here's... That is who has the fucking Universal Championship in my corner.
That's the Dayle Cup right there?
Yeah.
Okay. Azur Lane is so amazingly without any sort of artistry to it whatsoever. was designed by a team of people who were given a brief and told, do this. And they did that. And they made it into an anime. Everything about it is so fucking market tested. Everything about it is like, here's the demographic. This is the demographic. It's the people who play this game. We are going to make for them a basically just showcase of all of their favorite waifus that, you know, they can buy doujinshis of later.
Azure Lane.
It also features a particular battle system featuring at least a couple, more than one instance of welcome to my battle zone.
I don't know how they added that to a show that's supposed to be about walking battleships, by the way. Like, those aren't two breeds of shittiness that normally collide with each other.
Right, the walking battleships thing too, right? How did you make that fucking lame? It could be it could be one of those like, man, anime is weird sometimes, but I love it sort of things. No, it's just boring.
It is impressive to take a concept that is that crystal meth induced and make it feel like just the breeze.
See, this is kind of going back, but in a different way, to what I was saying during the Korra episodes, where I'm resentful of shit that is merely audacious, I guess. Not resentful, but I'm suspicious of shit that is merely audacious, but doesn't actually have enough of a good idea behind it to back up how audacious it is. Or what if Moe battleship girls and they fight war? And that's such a fucking first draft ass concept.
Yeah, they did.
No actual thought was put into any of it. They I think they just fucking manateed it together, a la that fucking episode of South Park.
Yeah.
Then did a market test, and then figured, okay, this will sell, and then released the mobile game, and then once the mobile game sold, they could release the anime, which does not really feature characters so much. I don't want to call these characters. It seems it's giving them too much credit.
Some bored motherfucker in a different episode, I would have called them subhuman or a basement dweller or an algae or something. But because we're talking about in the same episode as Rapeland, I'd have to call him bored motherfucker because of relativity. Is going to write in saying, actually, it's adapting a gacha game. The gacha game is not based upon it. Okay, Charles, you win. And I can't call you the worst corner of the fandom because you're not a rapist. Or a Congratulations, Charles. I don't know why the size guy's named Charles. I know a weeb named Charlie once. He wasn't a rapist. I'm sorry, Charlie. Fuck.
Yeah, sorry, Charlie. I'm sorry I thought I got the order right.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe let's talk.
Maybe Charles is about to fucking email this. Well, at least I'm off the fucking hook.
Mr. Dayle, who thinks he's so smart? Your Negro-ness will be surprised to learn. I've decided that he has to be a racist, so I feel better about calling him subhuman in the rape episode.
Alright. My argument against Azure Lane is going to be based mostly off of pathos, because Azure Lane has fucking none. But it is so sterile. It is so market tested. It is so mechanical in how it plays out. Its characters are so paint by number. They're not even fucking paint by numbers. They're a list of about a half dozen traits. No, traits is too much credit. They're each of them a list of about a half dozen, like, quirks. For
the record, this is our review of K-pop as well. Bang! Okay. You know I had to do it.
Come kill me. Come and kill me. I will fight until there's not a drop of blood left in me. Stance. Come to Brooklyn.
I'm in Brooklyn. You have to get to
Come to Brooklyn.
You have to go through Manhattan getting the Rona to get to me. Good luck, fucknuts.
I'll beat you till you're black and pink.
I'm hidden behind a viral shield. I can't even hate on K-pop that much this episode because, I don't know, it's not someone's
rape kink. God damn it. How is the bar so fucking low?
Well, we enjoy the films of Christopher Nolan. And I will always just remember silly voiced Batman talking to Jim Gordon on a roof. And the police commissioner says, "Are you worried about escalation?" And Batman's all, "Nah, we're good. Bat out." And the next film
is about escalation.
It's about escalation. And the film after that next film is about the French fucking Revolution. So yes, we have an escalation issue.
Alright, so I think my kind of closing argument on Azur Lane is that it is just such a puff of air of a show, of a franchise, because it is in fact a franchise.
So I think I feel the way about MILF Isekai's attempts at transgression that you feel that Azur Lane's reach for like an out there kind of concept.
Yeah, Azur Lane is not even that transgressive, or it doesn't even try to be that transgressive.
It's not at all. It's bread flavored bread.
And that is what is most offensive to me, ultimately.
MILF Isekai, I guess, annoys me because it's sort of... I keep coming back to the fucking pop punk thing. Mm-hmm. Because there is a certain way of waving your hands and saying, "Look at me," that will always just get this Sideshow Bob grumbling under his breath sound from me. So now, do we square these two off? Or do we go straight for the triple threat?
I think we gotta square these two off first.
While I made a sort of passionate case, I actually do think I was moved by your description of Azur Lane. Because it partially fell out of my rankings because I may have papered over it in my own memory.
It's just such a nothing show.
And the thing about Azur Lane as a nothing show is that it feels like an in-universe straw man in a socialist novel. Like, just someone who woke up cranky about the existence of capitalism and media.
See, it's not like we haven't watched merch-driven shows before. Maybe it's that microtransaction-driven shows are a bridge too far for yours truly. It could very well be that.
Oh, man.
But fucking Mobile Suit Gundam, whichever fucking series, at least they try to fucking tell a story. Usually they succeed. I would say 3 out of 4 series, and there are, 16 of them at this point? 3 out of 4 series do tend to succeed in telling a half-decent story.
Mother, we don't even need to reach for the letter grade.
But they don't even try to tell a story in Azur Lane.
We don't need to reach for the letter grade of a fucking Gundam or any mech cash-in show. In an episode of Dumbfuck Beyblade, from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode, I will be able to recount to you what basically happened and why.
Fucking Pokemon has taken an interest in being a half-decent show.
I can forgive flippancy on a topic because I'm all about flippancy. Like, Flippancy Stars World 2, that's a model for hilarity. But it just sounds like they didn't think about it. Like, they just didn't think about how this is a world war.
No, I don't know that they cared.
Everything has a perch, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to get back to this when we get back to Healer at the end of this episode.
Sure.
Because I have a thing about perch and why I particularly hate this fucking show.
The thing is, I'm thinking back, and again, I'm making another pathological argument, or an argument based in pathos. Is I'm thinking back to MILF Isekai, and I do feel like I was more miserable while I was watching MILF Isekai than I was while I was watching Azur Lane. I almost feel like I'm being a contrarian asshole by not arguing for for Interspecies Reviewers, a show that I called a hard stop on the first time we tried to watch it.
Well, I know why you can't vote for Interspecies Reviewers. Because you could barely fucking watch Interspecies Reviewers.
Oh, would it be in bad faith? Would this be bad faith criticism? Would it be bad faith criticism? Oh no, I didn't watch all the show. What right have I? But I do remember being more actively angry at MILF Isekai than I was at Azure Lane. And because I tend to be, not always, because I'm sometimes kind of the Ebert between our Siskel and Ebert.
Oh, I'm not sure what that actually means in a disposition.
Siskel was more nitpicky, where Ebert would rate the experience.
Okay.
Because I am in this case feeling a little bit more Ebert-y. It does count for something. The fact that I was actively just yelling at this show as I was watching it. And it brought me no pleasure. Like, usually a hate watch will bring some amount of perverse joy, right? All I could think of as I was watching MILF Isekai is just how much I hated it, how much I wanted all the characters to die. But, and here's why I think Azure Lane is worse.
It's like freezing to death.
The only thing I was thinking while I was watching Azure Lane is how much I didn't want to be watching Azure Lane. I didn't even... None of these characters were characters enough for me to hate them. I couldn't hate them. They weren't characters. They were character designs.
Azure...
And I feel like I've made this argument with other things in the past, but in no other show is it more true than with Azure Lane.
I will give it ultimately to Azure Lane, A, because of the cyberpunk analogy from earlier, and B, there's this thing, it's a borderline trope, I'm not against it or for it, it's just it's just a representation they're fond of.
Sure.
Where to imply someone is inhuman or otherworldly in a malign way, they'll just be like a black cloud with eyes and teeth, right?
Yeah.
It's all over Full Metal Alchemist and shit.
Yes.
And Azure Lane feels like a mass of one of those things shaped like a person, like, hello, fellow anime, it says, when it is a step short from being adapted from a pachinko machine.
I'm also remembering it's super fucking cowardly, too. Like, it plays it having stakes, and then after a battle where a bunch of them apparently died, they're just getting fished out of the water
I can't believe
afterwards because... God help us if they fucking killed someone's waifu.
Oh yeah, the waifu defense
They'd
force.
fucking be outside the fucking anime studios fucking building like the Capitol rioters.
What was the thing you said about Sally? It's like they had to fulfill her contract. It's like everyone has a fucking contract. Alright. So we gotta talk about Azure Lane then.
Azure Lane in relation to Rape
Isekai.
Rape Isekai's worse.
So I'm gonna talk about Purge now. It's my attempt at seriously talking about something for once in our fucking lives, because evidently to get Dennard to talk seriously about a topic, you had to make an isekai about rape. Congratulations. Okay. So I'm actually a firm believer that there is not a tone, topic, genre combination that you cannot do. The principal sinner in a piece of media, unless it's a technical problem, is always the perch. Because almost everything, there is a sort of authorial intelligence or angle. Even when something's done by committee, that's in fact why you dislike it. It's because it has been sanded down so thoroughly, you can't even feel any authorial or directorial or performance kind of
yeah, there's no life to it. There's nothing to interpret about it.
First is important because winding back actually to Azure Lane, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking about you could be flippant about World War II and it can work out. I love your catch-22s. You can be flippant about World War II and fuck up, but what will distinguish it before we get to any of the technical things, like whether you made it an action thing, a comedy thing, a drama, is you basically can, and even if you're not consciously thinking about it, to borrow the red letter media thing, you didn't notice it, but your brain did.
Mm-hmm.
You can generally read what their thoughts or lack thereof are on the topics within. I'm going somewhere with this. And you can also sort of read that they just didn't fucking think.
Sure.
I am a sort of borderline media nihilist. In that I will call you perhaps a moron for trying to make a show directly related on a literal rape revenge theme in a fantasy setting.
Oh, it's not just rape revenge, it's revenge rape too.
Revenge rape as well. Yes, that is an important distinction. But it is the fact that the entire eye on everything that happens to him and everything he does to other people, the entire eye of the show is not merely in like a pseudo rapist like eye or gaze or perspective from like the author, but it is someone thinking, what would this kind of person try to see? I guess what I'm trying to say is that you could make a drama or comedy or anything about this topic with whatever level of content or violence you seek. But it's worse than thoughtless here. Because I think the only thing you can do that's worse than being thoughtless is point at the cynical route and say, I'm going to do that. And most of the time, it doesn't fucking matter because you're making an anime about fucking soccer or some shit. But you chose to make, in your stakes, the fucking revenge rape story. And when you come in with, like, SAO clone laziness to that topic, I don't care how many units you pushed or moved or whatever, you're a failure. And you should feel like a failure. And I dislike you.
I don't think he should feel anything at all.
Erstwhile creator.
Anymore.
Oh, that took me a second. That's my slant on purge or authorial involvement or whatever.
Okay, yeah. All of this is valid. I disagree with none of it. Again, just fucking going back to the Doylean thing, right? I found myself completely unable to take anything that happened in this show on its own terms because of how transparent this thing was about being fetish bait for a certain type of people, a certain type of person. Everything that happened happened for the most cynical of reasons. His, horrible backstory that they gave him where he spent 6 months locked up getting, sexually assaulted by, half the kingdom or whatever. Played out in fast forward given how excruciatingly intimate, his scenes are with the characters that he has made his victims, right? In such a way that it is just, and I'm repeating myself here, that it is just there so that this show can have literally any amount of plausible deniability. Like, these people in this world are this implausibly awful for, the deniability. For the plausible deniability. Because ultimately, this show is not about his struggle for revenge. It's not, and it's like, that could be cool. Count of Monte Cristo's real fucking cool, right? And the Count himself, kind of a fuck. No matter, what fucking happened to him, he was kind of a fuck. And it was still a great story. But a lot of revenge stories are, in fact, great stories featuring people who are a complete fuck as the protagonist, in fact. But that doesn't matter in this case because all of that is artifice. All of it is just kibbles and bits built up around the core fantasy that is at the heart of this, and that is the really only reason that this thing exists, so that you can live through this man raping women.
Yeah.
That is the purpose of this show right here. And everything else exists as the flimsiest of justifications for it happening. So that, you can say, oh no, there's a whole show around this. Oh no, it has a plot and characters and they have motivations and everything. No, I don't care about any of that shit because it's fake. You are insulting my intelligence by saying any of that, by saying that this show is anything more than a rape fantasy for rape fetishists and actual fucking rapists who watch this show, who are, I guess, a market now. Great.
God, it's like watching a fucking 5-year-old try to pull a shell game on you.
And that is why this show is actively worse, honestly, by an order of magnitude, than Azure Lane. Like, at least fucking Interspecies Reviewers was merely a Coomer fantasy.
Yes. The days of innocence for Weeaboo Hell.
Jesus fucking Christ.
We're gonna need to do, like, fucking Your Name or Grave of the Fireflies or some shit after this. I shouldn't even feel a need to defend, like, this idea that I'm not a school marm or whatever. But what I'm trying to get at...
No, like I said at the beginning of the episode, clutch these pearls. I don't give a shit.
I guess... my closing point...
I'm not even sure that there should be a closing point yet, because clearly we need to be having the fucking conversation about the fact that there is just this entire fucking sector of the weeb community, larger than anyone cares to admit, that this show is for, that have been waiting for a show like this for God knows how long, and are actively calling me a normie right now for saying, this is not what we fucking want from our community. We do not want these people to be a part of this community, because not only do they just make the rest of us look bad, it's just not safe for them to be in this community. I do not feel safe being in this community with these people, and no one should feel safe being in this community with these people. And yet, here they are, right? All the fucking gripers. Giving it fucking 5 stars on the streaming service we were watching this on.
What was its rating? Like 4.8 out of 5
4.8, and with... Yeah, it was a lot.
It was doing well. It was doing
well. Fucking numbers.
It was clocking in better than Death Game. That is a conversation to be had. It's almost a hard one to have. Not because I don't know what I think about it, but because it's one of those objects that sort of stings your eyes when you stare directly at it.
Yeah, no, it's so fucking unpleasant to think about, but like they've always been there. We've known. It's
hard not to reflexively like bounce back on humor as a defense mechanism, or to just deflect the topic as, yes, terrible, but it doesn't represent the majority of us.
Like,
okay, cool. You have a larger than circuit average number of these.
Yeah, it's definitely a plurality, if not a majority. And I don't know, man. If it were 49%, that's still a gigantic fucking problem right there.
I mean, I try to think what I would even pitch in terms of a solution on that front. That's an area I don't have the answers. Like, I don't know. I would need some kind of fucking social engineering scheme, but that's beyond my fucking pay grade.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's difficult, because in the end, it is kind of difficult to ostracize these people. Almost as difficult as it would be. Yeah, probably not quite as difficult as it would be to convince them to change at all. They've no fucking incentive to do so. Like, they've already made up their minds the way that I've already made up my mind.
Yeah.
And, like, this is the exact same conversation about Trump cultists, too.
How do you just persist as a unit of civilization when you just know that X, not only non-zero, but non-sub-20 number percentile
Yeah.
of people have deviated from the sort of basic, stable social contract there?
It makes me sad. Like, it really fucking does. It makes me fucking sad that there's this really cool fucking thing out there that I love to death, even though it frustrates me sometimes, right? That I have dedicated basically around 60% of my leisure time to, right? It is, when people talk about TV shows, at work or among friends or anything like that, I'll be like, I don't know, tell me when you want to talk about anime because that's the only shit I watch, right? Yeah. I'm all in. This is just my fucking niche right here. This is what I have chosen to do with myself. This is what I have chosen to be about, and I'm totally fucking fine with that. I think it's a completely defensible thing to have done, but I have to now contend with the fact that I am part of a number that includes these fucking types of people. And honestly, it was irresponsible of me to have not started contending with this previously. Because like I said, we've always known that they were there.
We've always known that they were there. I think there's a difference between feeling a bump and knowing you have a tumor, though, when it comes to scale. Like, you probably should have known, you probably should have seen a doctor. But until you feel the problem, there is a temptation to ignore it or think that it doesn't represent your situation. And I guess the idea that you have to take in at some point is that everything does matter, because it can have second order consequences. Like, you're sort of refighting the stakes of what society is every time you communicate in a way, whether it's within a community or within a piece of media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like putting the stakes of like defining the moral character of a world and everything. I'm just saying that, I mean, it's all communication, which is all about ideas, and I guess sometimes you have to just ask the question, what ideas will sort of gain more life or attract certain thing through there. I'm not the most eloquent on this right now. I feel like I'm just burned by the fact that I am
that this even exists
discussing
and that we're
it on my
about
fucking wacky review show that there, I guess, is just the rape apologist contingent
of
that is larger than
this
it is
community that I am part of.
When I was a youth.
One of the lessons of the last few years has been that progress is not always this arrow that points in one direction. No, it goes backwards sometimes in real fucking big ways.
We do need to approach everything with the idea that a Bronze Age collapse is fully and totally possible.
It can always fucking happen. And it is actively our responsibility to make sure it doesn't. And I almost wonder if I'm being irresponsible giving this show this much of our fucking airtime. Giving it any sort of fucking publicity, because it's a very fucking real chance that someone listens to this episode, not having heard of this show, goes and finds the show, and is like, this is fucking great. Those guys are normies. And I hope the mic picked that up.
To the person thinking of yonder normie defense, I would just posit, I own an unironic katana. I am not a normie. You are in too deep in the wrong angles that should not exist within the pool, angles that don't really add anything to the medium itself or art. Or it's really frustrating that you talk about liking this thing, and I like this thing, and it frustrates me that
this thing being weeb media.
Anime, not
yeah.
It's frustrating that like out of all the ideas you could choose to like float your fucking pitch or project forward, you just choose something that has this fucking teratogenicity to it. Because I don't know, there's always something else.
And now for the kids at home, that word means...
Oh, God.
Because, congrats, you win. I don't know what that word means.
It's just a kind of organ where, like, how hepatotoxicity is like the fucking liver rot.
Okay, sure.
It's not inspiring.
It's not inspiring. The fucking hell of it is that I don't fucking have any easy answers for you or anyone on this right now, right? I don't have a good denouement. I don't have a cool conclusion to be drawn from all this other than they would not make this show were there not a market for this show, and you need a lot of fucking people to constitute a market. We need to fucking have a reckoning here. And it's 20 years overdue. This has been Weeaboo Hell. It's Weeaboo Hell.